There is a voice inside you, ancient, primal, unbroken. It does not whisper, it roars. But the world has spent years trying to silence it. They gave you rules before you could walk, labels before you could speak, limits before you even dreamed. And yet, you still dream, because deep within your bones, you know you were not born to be average. You were not placed on this earth to just survive. Clock in, follow orders, obey trends, and fade into the background. You were not crafted by the hands of the universe to play small, to shrink, to doubt the fire burning in your soul. No, you were carved by storms, built by blood, wired with eternity. You are the descendant of giants, of dreamers, of warriors, who dared to step into the impossible and call it destiny. Average. That's not in your DNA. But the world doesn't hand you greatness. It buries it. It hides it under fear, shame, distraction, and comfort. It teaches you to apologize for wanting more. It teaches you to sit down when you were meant to rise. So, now I ask you, when did you begin to forget who you are? When did you trade your roar for silence? When did you start believing that safety was more noble than purpose? Look around. History was not written by the average. It was shaped by those who defied it. By minds like Da Vinci and Tesla, who saw light in the dark. By voices like Martin Luther King, who thundered in the silence. By hearts like Gandhi and Mandela, who stood when it would have been easier to kneel. They were told it was impossible. They were mocked, doubted, threatened, but they walked forward anyway, because when your soul is lit with purpose, you stop asking for permission. You become the storm. And now it is your turn. You want success? It does not come to those who merely wish for it. It arrives at the doorstep of those who bleed for it. Those who understand that discipline is the altar upon which dreams are sacrificed, reshaped, and reborn. You want to rise? Then you must refuse to be average in your thoughts, in your habits, in your identity. The mind is a kingdom. You are either its ruler or its prisoner. Average minds wake up reacting. They scroll, they compare, they complain, they wait, and then they wonder why life feels like a cage. But the awakened soul, it doesn't wait for the right time, it creates it. It doesn't bow to emotion, it commands action. It doesn't negotiate with fear, it uses it as fuel. You are given a mind capable of building empires, but you fill it with noise, with doubt, with drama, with excuses. You were given hands capable of sculpting masterpieces, but you numb them with comfort. Let me remind you, the greatest enemy of your destiny is not failure. It is the addiction to average, the quiet, slow death that comes from doing just enough to survive, but never enough to ignite. When Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times to create the light bulb, he didn't say, "I guess I'm not cut out for this." He said, "I have not failed. I've just found 1,000 ways that won't work." Do you see the difference? One man refuses to settle. The other accepts mediocrity as identity. Which one are you? Every morning, the sun rises, not with apology, but with fire. And you were meant to do the same. You are not meant to move through life like a ghost present, but not alive. You are not meant to follow a script written by someone else. You are not meant to live a life that fits in a box. Wake, work, consume, sleep, repeat. No. You are meant to break the box, to create a life that feels like freedom, like expression, like truth. But here's the truth no one tells you. Freedom has a price. It costs time, blood, risk, rejection, discipline, and sacrifice. It demands that you give up the illusion of safety in order to grasp the reality of purpose. It asks you to trade your comfort zone for the wilderness of who you really are. And that is where average dies. That is where greatness is born. When you stop living by default and start living by design. So let me ask you again, are you here to live or to exist? Because you cannot serve both purpose and passivity. You must choose. every single day. Average is seductive. It feels warm, familiar, easy, but it is the enemy of your becoming, and becoming. That's your sacred duty. Asterisk, you were born to sculpt your soul like stone, to refine your thoughts, sharpen your will, and rise with integrity. Not once, but every day, especially on the days when you feel broken, especially when no one claps for you, especially when nothing makes sense. Because greatness is not made in the light. It is forged in silence, in doubt, in solitude, in repetition, in the unseen. You were not born to be average. You were born to remember who you are. So stand still for a moment, not in fear, but in remembrance. Do you remember the fire you had as a child? Before the world told you to stay in line, before they laughed at your dream, before you learned to be realistic. That wasn't just imagination. That was the seed of who you are. The average man forgets his dream to fit the mold, but the awakened soul burns the mold to remember the dream, because that dream was never meant to fade. It was meant to build you. But hear this, dreams alone are not enough. They require clarity. They demand that you speak your vision into the silence, not with words, but with action. Clarity is the blade that cuts through the fog. Most people don't lack potential. They lack direction. They chase everything and catch nothing. But those who rise above the average, they get clear. They write the vision. They see it when no one else does. They hold it in their minds like a sculptor sees the statue in the stone, not as a fantasy, but as an inevitability. You must know what you want. You must declare it to the world with the way you walk, work, and breathe. Walt Disney saw a castle where others saw swampland. Ford saw cars in every driveway when horses ruled the road. Carnegie saw a future of steel when others saw broken rails. They were not magicians. They were visionaries, builders of the unseen. And so are you. But vision without discipline is a hallucination, and this is where most fall. They feel inspired, but they do not act with consistency. Let me tell you this now. Discipline is not a punishment. It is a declaration of who you are. Every time you get up when it's hard, every time you say no to distraction, every time you train your mind, your craft, your character, you are reclaiming your throne. Discipline turns chaos into form. It turns pain into power. It turns maybe someday into right now. Average people try when they feel like it. Extraordinary ones train whether they feel like it or not. And they do this not because they're different, but because they made a decision to become impossible to ignore. You must become a force, not for the world, but for yourself. Because no one is coming to save you, not your family, not your boss, not society, not luck. And that's the most liberating truth of all. You are the architect. You are the fire starter. You are the sculptor of your identity. Yes, the world will resist you. It resists anyone who refuses to stay small. But that resistance is not a stop sign. It's a forge. The wind did not stop the flame. It strengthened it. Let every rejection, failure, and setback temper your will like iron in fire. Resilience is not a talent. It is a choice. A vow to yourself that no matter what comes, you will rise again. Abraham Lincoln lost elections, businesses, and his mind before he led a nation. Colonel Sanders was rejected over 1,000 times before anyone tasted his chicken. Stephen King's first novel was thrown in the trash. His wife pulled it out and said, "You were not born to give up, and neither were you." But listen, this isn't just about grit. This is about grace, the power to be thankful while you're being tested, the strength to appreciate before you arrive. Because gratitude is the soil where greatness grows. It shifts your focus from what's missing to what's possible. It is the difference between those who complain through pain and those who build through it. The average mind sees failure and says, "Why me?" The awakened soul sees failure and whispers, "Thank you. Teach me." You must learn to be both the student and the warrior, to bow to lessons, while rising to your fight, and the greatest lesson. Everything you need is already within you, but it must be awakened, shaped, summoned. Success is not an accident. It is the echo of deliberate days. So rise early, speak less, move with purpose. Think thoughts that match your vision, not your fears. Speak words that build, not break. Surround yourself with energy that grows, not drains. And above all, keep your word to yourself. You want self-respect. Keep your promises when no one is watching. Do what you said you would, especially when it's hard. That's how trust is built. That's how identity is forged. That's how the average dies. And that is what you came here to do. Not to fit in, but to rise out. Not to follow, but to lead yourself. Not to mimic, but to create. Not to endure life, but to ignite it. And if you're waiting for someone to validate you, stop. You are not here for permission. You are here for transformation. The oak tree does not ask the forest if it may grow. The lion does not consult the sheep before it roars. The sun does not apologize for setting the sky on fire. So why do you? The truth is this. Most people spend their whole lives trying not to offend anyone, and in doing so, they offend their own soul. But there's no honor in a life unlived, no greatness in a dream untouched, no legacy in a path of least resistance. You will be misunderstood. You will be doubted. You will be judged. But none of that matters if you know who you are. Because when you walk with purpose, noise becomes background, fear becomes a whisper, and failure becomes fuel. Do not waste your life trying to please a world that does not know your mission. Do not shape your spirit to fit into spaces that were never meant to hold you. You are here to take up space, to breathe fully, to live fiercely, to create boldly. This is your divine right. This is your sacred fire, and it will cost you everything. Average. Do you know what average really is? It's the slow death of potential. It's the dull ache of settling. It's the weight of unlived truth pressing down on your chest at 3 a.m. It's what happens when you trade your calling for comfort, your truth for trends, your power for acceptance. But I'll tell you a secret. The world does not need more acceptable people. It needs more awake people. It needs more dangerous minds. Minds that question. Minds that build. Minds that remember. You are not here to repeat history. You are here to rewrite it. Every step you take toward discipline, every hour you pour into your craft, every time you rise after falling, you bend reality in your favor. This is not poetry. This is physics. Effort creates momentum. Momentum bends probability. And when you do that daily, it becomes destiny. But beware the myth of motivation. Motivation fades. It is a spark. Useful, yes, but fleeting. What you need is identity. When waking up early is no longer a task, but a trait, you rise. When rejecting distractions is no longer willpower, but who you are, you win. When excellence is not an act, but your standard, you separate. Because average is a system. It is inherited, taught, normalized. But so is excellence, and you get to choose which system you serve. The greats are not born with more talent. They are born with the same fire, but they fan it. They guard it. They train it. Relentlessly. Muhammad Ali once said, "I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit. Suffer now, and live the rest of your life as a champion." And that is the mindset that separates a legend from a spectator. So stop looking for shortcuts. Stop asking for easy. There is no hack for becoming unstoppable. There is only the path, the quiet, brutal, beautiful path, where you are broken open and rebuilt, where you lose everything that is false, and find everything that is real. And somewhere along this path, you will look in the mirror and no longer see a person. You will see a force. You will see someone who did not back down, who did not settle, who did not shrink, who turned every doubt into fuel, every setback into a stepping stone. And when you get there, when you finally remember who you are, you'll realize something sacred. You never needed to be more. You only needed to remove what was never yours. The fear, the guilt, the shame, the lies, the noise, the programming, the illusion of average. You were never average. You were just taught to forget. But now, you remember. So what will you do now? Now that you remember? Now that the lie of smallness has burned to ash? Will you return to the comfort that numbed you? Or will you rise and build? Because the clock is ticking, and the universe does not wait. The sun rises whether you're ready or not. Time moves whether you're awake or asleep. And your potential is not a guarantee. It's an invitation. Every moment you delay is a moment lost, not just for you, but for the world. Because the world needs what you carry, not your mask, not your imitation, not your watered-down self. It needs the real you, the bold you, the disciplined, dangerous, determined you. The one who wakes up and chooses to live fully. The one who speaks truth, even when the room goes silent. The one who walks into the storm with a steady breath and a steady gaze. Because that is what leadership looks like. That is what purpose feels like. And that is what freedom requires. You will lose people. You will outgrow old circles. You will disturb the comfort of those still asleep. Let them go. You are not here to fit in. You are here to set fire to everything that was never you. You are here to be aligned, not accepted. To be great, not liked. To be free, not approved. So walk forward now, not in fear, but in faith. not in rush, but in rhythm, not in imitation, but in intention. This path is narrow, it is steep, it is quiet, but it is yours. And when your legs shake, keep walking. When your heart breaks, keep walking. When no one believes, still keep walking, because you will look back one day at the ashes of your old life, at the grave of your excuses, at the ruins of your fears, and you will smile, not because it was easy, but because you did not bow, because you remembered who you are, because you answered the call when most stayed silent, because you refused to die average. So let this be your creed. I was not born to be average. I was not born to stay small. I was not born to obey fear. I was not born to trade truth for approval. I was born to build, to rise, to lead, to create, to transform, to remember. And I will not leave this world quietly. I will speak in action. I will move in fire. I will stand in storms. I will walk in light. I will leave a mark so deep, the soil itself will remember my name. This is my vow. This is my power. This is my awakening, because I was never born to be average.